Okay, I'm going to have a drink now. We're going to go.
Right.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay. We've had Marines, we've had doctors, we've had scientists, we've had people in the know. And now we have my sister, Henrietta. There are two reasons that I have got my sister here. One is to validate that I do actually have more family than just my father. And the other thing is that she's really good at what she does, but we're not quite sure what she does. Thank you for being here on your husband's birthday.
Absolute
The
pleasure.
day after my birthday. Oh, right. I need you to explain to me in a bit what you do for a living. But first, we grew up together because we're brother and sister. Mm-hmm. And there is another sister, but she's not here. In Somerset, well, we started off in Windsor, right? In the posh bit.
Yeah.
Right? So our father was the chaplain of Eton. Was he not?
He was one of the chaplains of Eton College. There were several, I think.
Okay.
He was one of them.
Okay, so he was in the chaplain pool.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we left and we do that. So I was born in Windsor Nursing Home.
Yeah.
And then they knocked it down and then we left, right?
In that order,
in that
that's
order.
Exactly why we left, I'm sure.
Was it my fault that they knocked
it
it
was
down?
your fault.
We
It was
can't have that happen
entirely
again.
your fault.
Let's knock it down.
Because let's face it, that's set precedent for the rest of my life, hasn't it?
Well, I wouldn't possibly say that. No.
Okay, so I just want to look at your perception of our childhood and my perception of our childhood. And it interests me that I see my childhood as kind of idyllic. We had this free life.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're a little bit older than me, and Sarah is 75 or something. The older sister, isn't she? Something like that. Oh, I'm going to get slapped for that. But so you were the one that it landed on to make fish fingers and baked beans for me when our parents were working and all of that. But do you have the same memories of like growing up in idyllic little villages where there weren't really any problems?
Completely do, actually. I particularly, well, even before that, I remember you being born being amazing. You were an amazing little baby and fun, and just as you were a toddler. So even before we left Eton.
Okay.
But in Somerset, in the first parish we were in Stigursey, and we had this. You remember we had this amazing garden which attached to the vicarage. So there was loads of green space, and then there was a wood. And I remember you and I endlessly playing in there, making dens, climbing trees.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
I do remember that. I remember Jack and Molly Burge.
Yes.
Who were the old couple that were kind of did. Do you know what I mean? So he came over and took over the garden. Yeah. Because my dad was a bit crap. So the deal was you teach him how to do the gardening, and then you can,
You could have whatever you like from the garden. And Molly used to make pies and something she called brains, or we called brains. Maybe we called them brains, but she wouldn't. Faggots, but we called them brains because they looked like brains, and we didn't want to eat them.
I'll be honest with you, I still can't look a faggot in the face.
No.
Which you have to be really careful saying that now. But listen, that's out of order. But you have to, don't you, with life's idiosyncrasies.
Okay.
I'm interested in the nuances of childhood as well, because it's well documented that I grew up and messed up a big chunk of my life, but my childhood was not the cause of that. Do you know what I mean? I don't see it. So it's like you're having the same memories I am.
Well, I think I am. I think I don't know. I don't know where our memories differ, because I think my sense of the idyllic changed when we moved to Wells. I think that became less idyllic, but I think we. I don't know what your memories are. I mean, I do remember that sense of this is amazing. We can do anything we like. We're free as birds.
But I mean, there was a fence around the garden, but you wouldn't know it.
Well, it was so far away.
Yeah, because it was huge. So I think what I'm striving for is a bit of clarity. And I think, selfishly, I'm looking for some, I don't have any undiagnosed or unlooked at trauma, for instance, from my child. I just don't have any.
No.
There was that time, and I remember that, and I think it was Troll. Yeah. Where we were sat at the bottom of the stairs listening to them scream at each other. Yeah. And we know why that is now. Yeah. But back then we didn't.
No.
And that is I think that is literally the only negative I can fully remember, fully formed.
Yeah.
Apart from our grandmother, who was
Yes, there was a problem there, and that was a bit of a shadow for me as well, because we weren't allowed to answer the phone in case it was Granny. I don't know if you remember that, but it was our father's mother.
Yeah.
It was a very tricky and complicated woman, and
without being disparaging, basically she got breast cancer earlier on, and breast cancer back then was basically being put in a room and have all of that thrown at her. Was that's the cause of a lot of it? I
don't know that was the cause of a lot. No, because I think this is later as well. I mean,
okay, so
I think before she had breast cancer.
She was just difficult.
She didn't really want our father to marry our mother. She didn't want that, and then for him, and then she was trying to, I think, sort of disrupt things.
Boy, didn't she?
And it seems, yes.
Okay,
yeah.
So there is a bit of traumatic behaviour on other parts, but I wasn't cognizant of that.
No,
I mean Sarah was,
and well, Sarah definitely was, but that's for her. That's her story.
Yeah,
but I think our, if you don't mind me saying so, I mean, I think we had an amazing thing going, because I actually really love cooking now, because I think I did cook. I came home from school or whatever, and I'd cook us fish fingers and baked beans, and I'm really sorry, that's all we cooked. All I ate, all you ate.
Yeah.
But I didn't really know much else. But I actually, that sense of eating together, and it was quite often just you and me, I think.
I remember that.
Yeah. And then sometimes Daddy would be there, but then if he was cooking, it would be cabbage omelette or something.
Or potatoes and gravy.
Yeah, potatoes and gravy.
Because he didn't learn.
It was so revolting.
It was awful. So he would go, because my father has always been, I swear he should have been Irish, with all disrespect to Irish potato eaters, but it was potatoes, gravy and cabbage, because that's it. Boil it.
He loved it. He still gets straight. So I now, ring him up and say, what have you had for supper? And he said, well, I've had potatoes. And what else have you had any vegetables? Oh, I've had potatoes. So he just
with my potatoes.
Yeah.
Well, there is a little secret that about my nutritional input.
Yeah.
Still to this day, I have a thing that my family knows as beanins.
Okay.
Which are basically baked beans, celery, chilies, all mixed up into a kind of, don't look at me like that, in a kind of stew, right? Yeah. Because baked beans have been an important part of my childhood, my life, everything, and I love them.
Yeah.
Nowadays, because of cocaine-induced taste bud loss, I needed for a while to have chili sauce infused in everything, so I could taste something. Yeah. Now my taste buds have come right back, though.
Fantastic.
Which is really weird. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden I was eating, we were at a restaurant, and it was just basic pub food, and I suddenly realised I could taste the kidney in the steak and kidney pie that I was eating, and then I went,
steak kidney.
And she went, what's wrong? You love that? And I'm like, no, that's horrible. So, and that was kind of funny. Okay. But yeah, okay, so as long as we're on the same page, and also I do remember you providing for me. It was Hedge will make dinner or tea or whatever the hell we called it. I haven't got a clue. I also remember, right, that winters were awful because we had to be home by 3:30. It was basically, you can be out until it's dark. You were older by then, but you can be out until it's dark, and then you come home. So at 9:30 in the summer, you stroll in knackered after running down Tor Woods for 3 hours, right? And then in winter, you're like,
yeah. But also, I mean, I think the only other trauma thing, it's not trauma at all.
Yeah.
We lived in this huge house because it was a rectory, and in those days, the vicar lived in the vicarage in the village.
Yeah.
And it was a huge privilege because it was an amazing house, but it was absolutely freezing, and they couldn't afford to heat it. So we had an Aga, which, if there was wood, it was hot, or if there was coal or whatever it was. But otherwise, we used to go around with hot water bottles strapped to us, and that was a way of keeping warm, as well as 15.
Thought I'd made that up.
No, that's true, and 15 jumpers. But you just wore all your clothes.
Yeah.
That's how to keep warm.
You've got this idyllic 5-6 bedroom house.
It was beautiful,
but you
and
couldn't. It was awfully fucking cold. And why was I in the loft or the top floor? In one of those houses I was in, and I was only 5 or 6, because that's where the spider thing came from. I had a bed with a tubular bar across, and there was a telly at one end and my bedroom at the other.
So that is really interesting because I remember it the other way around. I remember Sarah and I being upstairs in the attic
Right.
with the telly room in the end, and you were in a small bedroom next to Mummy and Daddy.
Okay, that narrative's changed. Right, the bed has not, because that's where my fear of spiders came.
Yeah, no, well, the whole house
So-
was full of spiders. It was just,
Oh, yeah.
and also the cat would bring in, you know, Leo would bring in. He had this whole larder under the other spare room,
The spare room under the bed.
and he'd
was
just bring in pheasants, rabbits, and we didn't discover this for quite some time until our great uncle and aunt were coming to stay.
Oh.
And my mother said, right, we better sort that room out. And it was disgusting. It was maggoty,
Dead things.
infected,
Lovely.
dead things. So the house wasn't that sanitary, I don't think.
I don't,
But it was so cold they were
And
preserved.
it was, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It was freezing.
It was in the
Yeah.
larder.
Yeah.
I mean, I do remember the lifestyle as well. You know, like people would come in, and the Mothers Union that I used to like to pee in front of quite a lot.
It was only once. You did a fantastic thing. So my mother particularly found the Mothers Union noble cause, but really tricky, because they would come and just inhabit our house while they were doing the things they were doing, and that would be twice a week or something. And she'd find sort of needles sticking out of the armchairs where they'd left them, and we'd poke her eyes out, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But why was I saying that?
Because I peed in front of them.
Oh yeah, so they were organising this village fete every year, and my mother was always really involved, and it was always quite lovely, actually, the event. But you stood in front of the village, in the whole village, who were in a circle because our father was about to present some prizes or something, and you just weed in a huge arc, or as
That
much
was
of a,
at the fete.
and that was at the village fete. Yeah. That's when you did
that's
it.
You have told a version of that story before.
Right, so
It's
my
quite
version is that they were there making their crucifix voodoo dolls, right, in the front room.
They
right?
never made crucifix
What they
voodoo
made
dolls.
was teddy bears with human faces, which are fucking terrifying
or
when
rag
you're
dolls.
5.
Yeah, no.
And they gave me one,
Yeah.
and I screamed and threw it,
Oh,
and
okay.
and that was that, because I wasn't that brave back then. And then I ran outside, and to be impressive, I did it in the French windows. But you're telling me I didn't do that. That was at the fete.
At the fete in the middle of the lawn.
God,
Yeah.
what is wrong with me?
Well, you were 6 or something. I
Well,
don't
yes, some things don't
We've all
change.
done it.
Yeah, well, we've all done it, gone to the fete. The last fete I went to, I'll have you know, I gave a speech.
Yeah.
Marvellous.
And I didn't urinate in front of
You
anybody.
didn't. I can attest to that.
I'm
No,
really
well,
pleased to hear
that was that one. I've been to an actual one that was made by other people.
Oh.
And I gave a speech there. Basically, there was a fete in one of the villages up at the back, and they said, we do a group up there. And they said, will you give a speech about what you did? And I thought, yeah, but nobody will listen. And then there's fucking hundreds of people stood in front of me. And I walked on stage, cocky as you like, looked to the audience and went, oh dear. So, and then gave a speech for 15 minutes, and it was all great. Okay, the last thing I want to look at about our childhood as well is that we moved away and you stayed at Wells. Is that right?
That's right.
Right, that is right, because you were at Wells Cathedral School doing your A-levels.
Yeah, it was because I was doing my A-levels, and you moved to Hertfordshire, to Haileybury,
Yes.
where our father was the chaplain, the
He
only
was.
chaplain. And yeah, I was just beginning my A-levels, so I stayed in Wells.
You went, fuck off, I'm not leaving.
No, I didn't. I wanted to leave. I didn't want to stay.
Oh, you did? So who made you stay?
Well, no, it made me stay, but
Bastards.
it was proven to me somehow or other that going to Haileybury to do my A-levels would not work. Because it was my last. I'd already done a
You'd
year.
done
of
the
it.
first year?
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
done that. God, and it's dredging back now. Yeah, I'd done my first year of A-levels.
Well, that was it. Okay.
And so I stayed with a housemaster and his wife, and my rent was babysitting whenever they needed me to, which was nice because
Who were they?
Penny Price and Simon Price.
Simon Price, that's it.
And their son Ben, who was about 4 at the time and was very sweet. And I did my A-levels, and
And you passed and everything.
I more or less passed.
Yeah. And then you went to something to do with Oxford, not Polytechnic,
Yeah,
and you got this degree,
yeah.
and then threw it out the window and went to work somewhere else.
No, I didn't throw it out the window. No. So I went to Paris to be an au pair. And I had a fantastic time because I was really interested in art history.
That was it,
I
right.
just spent a year looking after this family and going to galleries, and I loved it. And I love Paris, and I still do. And then I went to Oxford Brookes university now, but it was Oxford Poly then, proudly Oxford Poly, and read art history.
Okay, I remember visiting you, right? And I probably got this wrong because my brain inverted.
Yeah.
So me and Chris Fisher watched, was it the Breakfast Club or something?
Probably.
Like 14 times in the day, and I have no idea why. Probably because we were pissed.
I think well, if you were pissed, that's terrible because you would have been about 14.
I was 14, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm really, that's
not on you, mate. I was already drinking, don't worry about that.
I know, but it's grim. It's grim to think.
It's not though, is it? I mean, listen, when you grow up in Somerset, the first thing and only thing you do is you.
Well, I grew up in Somerset too. I mean, that's probably where our paths differ as well. You know, I grew up in Somerset too, and I now have a law. I mean, I just can't drink scrumpy or even smell it because there would be these parties where the drink was a barrel or 10 of scrumpy, and that's what you drink. And I can't look at scrumpy.
There is a reason that I no longer drink alcohol. Yeah, and. It's not scrumpy, it's to do with bad behaviour and not having a stop button. But yeah, I mean, cider has always been my thing. Yeah. Always. Yeah. Totally always.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got up to the stage where, now you had your art history degree, you went to Paris for a year and you did all that. You're kind of fluent in French, which helps our father as well, doesn't it? Because you can deal with all the... I can point... And pretend that I can say a tranche of chaos.
You can order cheese.
Yeah, cheese.
At the market.
Yeah, I can do the basics, right? But you do the whole language speaking.
Yes.
Which is very impressive.
Okay.
My father, can he speak French?
Yes.
Well, I don't get it. He's always going. He goes on, meets his mates, giving it all the gibbity, right?
Yeah.
In the beautiful French language, which I do actually like.
Yeah.
Right. Not that they care that I like it. And then he goes, "Oh well, I'm not very good at French." It's like that's where I get that bullshit from.
He panics. So in medical appointments, he will panic and say, "I don't understand what they've said," or "I can't reply. Please reply for me." But that's not because he can't speak French. That's because he's just having a wobble because he's also hearing things about being ill, which he doesn't want to hear. So it's
traumatic as well because of our mother and all of the.
It's all awful.
I have to say, he's 88 years old.
Yeah.
He's had 2 types of cancer, both in remission, and now he hasn't even got cancer of the ear either.
No, I know, it's fab.
To fall back on. Obviously, if you've watched 50 and Coping, if you haven't watched the manic mission that was Lee, George and I driving to France and back and doing 2 podcasts in 24 hours, you should probably watch that. Look it on YouTube. Okay, I want to transition from our childhood to what you do for a living. Now, what brought my attention to that is I've only really recently kind of come back into the world of you. That sounds awfully dramatic. We are brother and sister. There are no conflicts. There is no bullshit as far as I'm aware. One day I'm sure you'll let me know with a memo. But we haven't lived inside each other's lives. We haven't. I disappeared off the planet to do all the bullshit for years, and I do feel guilty about that. I wasn't there for any of your kids. Not that they need me, but I do carry that. And they've never expressed any concern.
Because they're not concerned, because they think you're fabulous and they adore you. And actually, I think you're elongating the time when you all weren't in our lives, because that was, I think, a period of 5 years. Yeah. And I remember the day you messaged me, and it was our mother's birthday, the 4th of July. I mean, she was dead
passed,
for a long time. But and I think Lydia was about 2, so that means Alexander would have been 5, and Serena wasn't born. So actually, they have known you, and Serena's known you all. I know we haven't hung out for hours at a time, and
I think
yeah, but they know you, and they
do know me.
They're very proud of you and what you do. So and what you have done. Good. They love your music and all of that. So
there's no accounting for my child. Right, Samuel, who you've met,
I'm pleased to say,
is very traumatic for me. He plays one of my albums.
Yeah.
Like, he takes it upstairs, right? And normally when he's angry, so it might be to spite me.
Oh, okay.
But if he's but he loves Distorted Breed. He loves it.
Yeah, but so does Alexander. I mean,
Madness. The sad thing is that the band before that, Perfect Distortion, was brilliant. No one gives a fuck about that. They like the throwaway music afterwards.
Well,
I'm not saying
I don't know which one Alexander likes. He fished something out some time ago, and
I don't know. I think actually me, Alexander, and Guy, I think, got drunk-ish at something, and I said, actually, what you need my albums, and you'll see how wonderful I am. And then I gave him the albums, and he didn't phone me. I came around again. He just said, you know what? They're really good. You can really sing, and I'm like, yeah, shut up. Right, for frame of reference, right, your son is literally a classical music wonderment. He's a chorister, is he not? And was like chorister, but then he sings choral music.
Yeah.
And he's a soloist, and now he even writes his own classical music, and that's difficult.
Yeah.
It's none of this bashing about on guitars.
No.
You've got to have notes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so art history degree, and then you went and worked for the Museums and Galleries Commission.
Wow, yes, I did.
Come on.
That's impressive. Yeah.
Well, the only reason I know that is I used to visit you, and I can't think why I would possibly visit you in that big-arsed house next to Buckingham Palace that you used to work in. Well, not next to.
Well, I guess it was near where you were living, was it?
Yeah,
that?
but why? I have no idea. But everyone in your office knew who I was. And they're like, hey, Mums. And I'm like, what? That's great. And I remember that. I don't remember why I was there. I don't
remember why you were there.
I imagine you've called me for something.
Okay.
I don't know. But I was at college.
Yes. Were you?
Well, no. I was supposed to be.
You were in the cinema.
Yeah.
You were watching films.
Did I tell you that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I used to. Yeah. So instead of going to Maida Vale College of Further Education, where I found the whole thing bullshit, I went to the big screen, right, and watched lots of films every afternoon because a mate of mine was on the ticket thing.
Oh, right.
So I just got in for free, and then there were girlfriends, so they'd want to go to the cinema for free. So we went to the cinema for free.
Excellent.
By which time I got 2 U's and an N at A level.
Excellent.
Which, not great. This isn't about me. Stop that. It's deflection. But so the Museums and Galleries Commission. Here's my first question. That was an organisation that looked after presumably the way museums and galleries actually move forward and looked after antiquities and things. Is that right? It
was like the Arts Council for museums.
Okay.
Now it got disbanded, and it's part of the Arts Council, the functions of it. But yeah, it was an organisation that supported museums, gave grants to museums, ran programmes to recognise collections that are really internationally significant.
Right.
And my role was to support museums with their marketing and international relations in the end. So when I left in 2005, I was head of strategic marketing and head of international relations, which is why I left. I think that's the clue, because you can't do 2 full-time jobs and have 3 children and stay in any way sane.
No.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, no, you can't do that.
No.
And there we go. So that fits nicely into the 20 years of Hopkins Van Mill.
Yes.
Right. So, here's the question. You ready?
I'm
what
ready.
do you do for a living, please? What is it?
Okay. So Hopkins Van Mill is a social research agency. So we exist. I mean, I can give you the strapline, which is bringing people together to inform the future. But what we do is ask people questions. We get people together. We're commissioned by public bodies. So at the moment, I'm doing 2 totally different projects for UK Research and Innovation, who are a funder of research, a funder of academic research. And we're doing one on ultra-processed foods and one on an element of combating climate change.
Okay.
So what our work is rooted in trying to understand what people think about things that really matter to us all, but who may never have been asked their opinion, and whose voices may never have been heard in policy making. So our ambition is to ensure that people across society, from all walks of life, from all backgrounds and experiences, can shape public policy because their views have been heard, and we gather their views and report on them. Okay,
I have no frame of reference apart from I was involved in a very small way with the processed foods.
Yeah.
I've seen the film, The Bit of Me.
Good.
Oh, that's good, that.
Yeah.
Yeah. When the people come to you looking for that, the point being that the actual people who are like so rich, poor, whatever, the spectrum of people get influence in a way,
Yeah.
or give their opinions of what they believe.
Yeah. So it is about influence. It's about. So I'm going to go backwards because actually it's quite. I suppose it makes sense of why I'm doing this now because of what I did before.
Yeah.
But if you're doing marketing, you need to understand things in order to market them.
Sure.
So I used to often bring groups of people together to say, what do you like about this museum? Why do you like it? How would you walk through it in a different way? That kind of research.
Yeah.
And when Anita Van Mill and I set up Hopkins Van Mill, we did it to do kind of that kind of research with museums. But then we were being asked by county councils to explore a contentious area of land that wasn't working for people properly, and get people together to talk about that. So gradually we've expanded what we talk about and what we...
Are you given a narrative?
No,
I was going to say, is it supposed to be an unbiased, just get the information out of the people kind of thing?
Yeah, and
get the opinion out.
It's completely... The idea, so it's called sort of public dialogue, public deliberation. People might have heard of citizens' assemblies, citizens' juries. That's the kind of thing we run. And the idea is that you don't have a preconceived idea about what you want people to say or what they should say, because you're there because you have a blank enough slate that you can hear what they've said, and what they've said can then influence the policy. So this never works if the policy is already decided. We would never, if we were asked by an organisation to, we've written this policy statement, can you just come along, get a group of people...
Can you come and justify it?
Just say that sounds good. We never do that. So it's always early enough in a process.
You see, my biggest fear was this conversation would be me saying to you, are you justifying somebody else's narrative? And it's really, really positive that you don't.
No,
so where does for example, where does the ultra-processed food project start? Someone just comes and says, what's the public opinion of it?
Yeah, so
is it as simple as that?
I suppose it kind of is, but it's not, in the sense that there's a whole structure around it. So there's an open tender process. We would be one of several organisations who say, actually, we think we can do it like this, and if the commissioning body likes it, they'll buy it. Yeah. But we will have a series of questions or framings. So for ultra processed food, this is a really contentious area. Science doesn't even have an agreed definition of ultra processed foods that can be used by academics to work through what they are. There isn't a clear understanding of any potential harms to health or the environment. These things still need to be explored. So our broad remit was, what kind of research do people across the country think should be funded by UK research and innovation on ultra-processed foods, because it's such an under-researched area. So that was a real broad framing, and we are now writing the report. I'm due to submit a draft in a couple of weeks about what people have thought. And what's, I think, always amazing is you bring people together with a whole range of different experiences. They meet scientists, specialists, academics who work in the field. They talk together on a completely level playing field. There's no power dynamic. We try and minimise the power dynamic. People bring their lived experience, academics bring their specialist experience. That is all interrogated, discussed, brought together, and then findings come from that. So it's from what people have told us, not what a narrative we're imposing on them.
What's interesting as well, and I'm finding out more and more, is that and there is a link, I promise, my life experience serves me an awful lot better doing what I do than my counselling, what do you call it? Qualifications. And my mental health first aid qualifications. So what's comforting to know is that in a very real sense, that research is being done, listening to people's actual experience. Also, I mean, the main question I think I had to answer for the film I did for you with Jamie was, what's your understanding of ultra processed food? And my understanding, I mean, I've got him who will tell you all about ultra processed food and do that. But also, you've got to understand that process. So, the most processed foods are often things that you think are quite healthy. if you're on a lower level of income and if you're, I'm eating this and this is good, this is fine. No, it's really not good.
Especially when they tell you it's healthy.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually one of the things that the participants we did. We went on a mini field trip around the towns where we were working with people, and they were just asked to note where they saw ultra processed foods sold, packaged, marketed, advertising, and they came back and their minds were blown when they were thinking, and mine was too, thinking about actually all the places that we see them and that we interact with them. But as I say, the research isn't clear about what the harms are to health or the environment or anything else.
There are some pretty strong signposts about the fact that nutritional values and the damage to your body and the things like that. But they're at this point they're arguments because there are no scientific values for it.
Well, there are some. It's just really complex, but I think the other interesting thing possibly about what I do that probably relates to what you do is none of these subjects are easy, just as anyone's lives are easy. So you have to give people space to unpick the complexity. So we quite deliberately mostly don't run focus groups. We don't run, come here for 90 minutes, tell us something, we'll wrap it up in a bow and you go away. We don't do that. Our processes can last months. And
because this has been going on for 6-7 months, this project.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. We've just last year we ran a citizens' jury with the Norfolk Council on Bioethics on assisted dying, should the legislation in England on assisted dying change. Right. And that process, we were in workshops with participants from April to the end of June. But the build-up to that, the designing, we think really carefully about how we design these things on contentious, sensitive topics. And we then take a long time afterwards thinking about what we've heard. Well,
also that's the thing that people don't see, not that they see. Do you know what I mean? But there's the building and planning of what to ask, when to ask it, how to set it up, what to push forward. And I think what's interesting is the fact that you have had enough experience through different lives to formulate these pertinent questions, films, dynamics, and show how to ask the right people the right things.
Well, I think the other lovely thing for us is at Hopkins we're a small team, but we're really collaborative, and so we all have a lot of experience in how to design those processes and think about them. But the other thing we do is work really closely with our commissioners. So it's never a question of that they'll commission us to do something. They'll say, see you in 6 months when you've come back with something.
You've done it.
No.
But surely that's so working hand in hand, there has to be trust. And you've proved yourself. Hopkins, I was at the party, so you've been there over 20 years now, right, doing what you do. So, there must be some customers, if you like, or, commissioners who trust you to tell the truth, to give your findings in a blanket way that shows commitment to projects and truth.
Well, so trust and truth is what runs through our work, because we have to build trust with our commissioners. We want to build trust with our commissioners, but also all the people we engage in and work with through the dialogues. Your niece Lydia has done some lovely designs for the Hopkins Van Mill website about these ideas. So we talk about being human and brave, and she's done some lovely animations which just very simply express. So she's done bravery as a little chick in a nest, just leaving the nest and flying off. Right. And they're very powerful. But I think that trust thing, and what is also amazing about the privilege of running public dialogues or deliberations is the trust people place in us to share their views. Yeah. I'm constantly and I was thinking about this actually coming here, but you hold in your head the stories of people who've taken part. So we ran another thing that links with you. We ran a dialogue on chronic loneliness quite some time ago now, but it was about ways to sort of well-being and how serious being chronically lonely is for your life. And the stories people shared, they still sort of catch me short when I think of things people said, like a teacher who said, I'm a teacher, so every day I go to work and I'm really busy, but in the school holidays, I've got no one. I've got nothing, and I'm sitting there waiting for term to start, thinking I should be really enjoying this because it's the school holidays. And she was desperately lonely.
I can completely and utterly relate to that. And what I do is based on solitude and loneliness, and that's how it started. Doing this podcast, we found out that the lack of community and lack of support that was in the current climate was the cause for a lot of people's, solitude, loneliness, inability to communicate. Obviously, the big COVID thing is part of it, but even before that, there is a band of people in the world who exist in the grey, where and a lot of teachers. They take on the lives of these children, and then these children are no longer with them for the holidays, and then they come back. And there is one particular teacher, without any detail whatsoever, who is completely, fundamentally broken by the fact that there is nobody in their lives until they're validated again by those children. And when you get to look at people and help people like that, you suddenly realise that the lost and lonely should have the loudest voice, but has no voice at all, because by definition they're not talking to anybody. And the lack of community, the lack of response for people, and I could go on about this for hours because I have a charity that deals with community, but just by the brutal fact of the matter that downstairs, both of those drop-ins we do in the week. Today, by the way, every chair used, every mug used, to the point where I had to go and find 2 other mugs from up here because it was that full. Now, if what we do didn't work, people wouldn't be there.
No, absolutely.
And by definition, if what you didn't provide for all ends, there would be negative feedback. You know what people are like? I was told this and I was told this, blah, and this didn't happen. You're 20 years on, you're there. Also, another thing about that party, right? And I don't, right, part of my brain was going, what am I doing here, right? Because this is not my people, right? This is that. And I was thinking that. But then all of a sudden, everyone was coming up to me going, you're Munge. And I'm like, yeah. And you're like, oh yeah, you're Hedge's brother, blah blah blah, with all this, and then all of a sudden, and there's is it Dara, who is the other side of Jamie and Dara, Postcode Films. They made a film with me as part of it about processed food. They're amazing people, what they do, right? Amazing, right? They've and then other people who work for you were like, are you Munge? And I'm like, yeah. And work with you actually, and work for you. But the whole dynamic wasn't who the fuck are you? It was like, you're Hedge's brother, blah blah blah. And they were all talking about you to a certain degree. You're not going to want to hear this, but they were all talking about you at a certain point. But there wasn't a single strand of negativity in that. Right, so for me, but do you know what I'm saying? Right, there's usually she's a bit of a taskmaster, but she gets it done. It's beautiful. There was none of that. It was all like working here is nurturing, a place where I can do what I do. Even the woman who came and told me her life story, who was handing out the bags and
oh, okay.
Yeah. No, in a good way.
Yeah.
Came and told me who she was and what she did. She said, working for your sister's really good. I'm a bit confused because I did this at university and that. But working for her shows me a different way. And I'm like, what the fucking hell, all right. So what I'm saying is, as a brother, a younger brother, I am so very proud of what you do. And it's true. But also, you were a leading light in my life. With basic feeding, looking after me, but also
he'd have died without me.
Yeah, well, I would have done because I didn't know how to make a fish finger.
No, I don't think she made them.
Did she not? Really don't burst that bubble. So is she not married to the bird's eye geezer then? No. But the key part to that party for me, right? I'm going to be brutally honest. Speeches, right?
Yeah.
I walked in there, right? Now, I don't drink alcohol, and I wasn't drinking then. I walked in and I had a drink, and I was sitting there going, what? Speeches? Now, of course, me being me, I will rebel against anything for the fun of it. I'm standing there, and we're in there for a while.
It was too long.
Yeah, but it was, and I'm an outsider. I'm a complete, nothing to do with it. I was completely drawn in, right? My only question was the lady, the Van Milne part.
Yeah.
My question has always been, if you've left, why are you here? And then right in that, not in a accusatory, but just in a what's going on. And then you gave your speech, she gave hers, and all these people that are little parts of it, are big parts of it, and all that showed the dynamic of what happens, right? And that dynamic is that in the core of what you do, there is integrity and there is truth, and the narrative isn't a proposed narrative. The narrative, we find out what the narrative is by talking to the people, and it makes it real.
It's truth and trust again, isn't it?
Truth and trust. When you can live in a world, now I've said this many times, since I have become living in a world of truth, there is no lies, right? So the little lies that everyone thinks aren't good, right? I don't do that. I don't live in grey, right? One, because I can't, because of my marriage and my child. I have told a white lie to Samuel on occasion to make sure he doesn't lynch me. But the value of truth has become entirely apparent to me now. And the truth involved in what you do and the integrity involved in what you do have put you in a position where people trusted you, and you have delivered for the past 20 years to furnish truthful projects. That's got to feel good, right? To have that level of integrity, to stand in front of people and go, look, what I do, as far as I can see, is based in exactly the right values. How many people can put their hand on their heart and say that, though? You know what I mean?
Well, thank you, but I'm not sure. Yeah, okay. So I am part of it. Of course, I am, and I co-founded the organisation with Anita, but we do it together. Not Anita step back,
yeah.
But the team at Hopkins Van Mill. We worked on our values. I mean, we sat down and said, you know, what are we? What do we want to be, and what are we? And we've thought about that. So I suppose what I'm saying is, it's not just me, and B, it's a sense of community around what matters, and it really matters to me. It really matters to me that people's voices are heard on the things that affect them every day.
Would it exist if you weren't there? Now.
Well, I'm hoping it has a future when I'm not part of it. It wouldn't exist now because I wouldn't have set it up. No. So
So my point is that everyone there looked to you as their leader.
Well, yeah, but
you shrugged that off. Well, I understand what that means, right? What that means, right? As a leader of people, there is trust, there is integrity, there is something that means that you will look after those people, right? And they trust you to lead them into the right projects, right? That level of trust should not be, shrugged off.
No, okay. I suppose the reason I'm not embracing it utterly is that that is what I've... So I didn't ever set this up. It's evolved, and I didn't ever set it up to be a leader of people. No. That's not what it happens that doing this work requires some direction, and
but that's what I think. I think the people that set up companies to be leaders of people end up not having the respect of their employees, don't they?
No,
because they're doing it for themselves.
That's the key.
Yeah.
Whereas from what Jim said, I mean, I obviously wasn't there, but from what Jim said, there is a huge amount of respect. Within your whole team, they treat it as something they love doing. Whereas lots of people that work for the guy that set up a company on his own or whatever, and then became the entrepreneur, hasn't got a lot of respect from the people that work for him, because they're just going to work to earn money to pay their bills. Sounds like everyone that works in your company is doing it because they love doing it and they're learning and advancing.
I think they genuinely, and we do learn every day, all of us, and working together is one of the amazing bits of it. But yes,
it sounds like people want to come to work.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Okay, we are drawing to the end of time because fingers are being flashed in front of me feverishly. Actually, he's only done it once. But the thing is, right, when you start out with the right intention and follow those intentions through with integrity, one of the reasons, and I didn't explain this to you, to bring you on, is because you're my sister, right? And I know the truth of it. And what I wanted to show people, because it's called 50 and Coping, is the fact that there are people in the world who do want voices to be heard. And there isn't necessarily a narrative. There isn't a grey side.
No.
And I think that's important. And I thank you for doing what you do with that, because I mean, speaking as a brother, as I've said, just being there was impressive. And I don't think I finished that sentence. Watching all of these speeches, right, wasn't boring. It wasn't like, oh, fuck off with your speeches, right? It was really, okay, you do that, that's great. So why do you feel that way? And then they explained it. So the questions I'm asking from the people giving the speeches were all being answered. That's impressive. because I am very bored very easily.
Yes,
and I enjoyed that.
And Hedge bring you all the answers anyway, so perhaps wasn't quite so engaged as you were.
Well, no, obviously not. I think Hedge was going, can I have a drink now? I want to say thank you for coming. I also want to say thank you for my childhood and looking after me, because I've never said that. And I genuinely mean this, because if our parents were absent because they had to be.
Yeah.
So you had to step in. You're 5 years older than me.
Yeah.
So you had to step in for your little brother, and you did. And that level of integrity is carried on through your whole life. How about that? I don't know what to say now. Very quickly, I am 52. It is a year since we did the 51 years old show, where I explained I would always be part of a tattoo shop, and I would always be that because I fought for it. Well, I'll tell you now, I'm not. The tattoo shop has gone. I live a completely different life, and Distortion Mentoring has gone from nothing to everything. I am now in a position where I can live my life the way I want to be. So if there is anything to be learnt from me, which is questionable, but if there is, it is the fact that it doesn't matter what age you get to, if you feel that you want to change direction, but do it from a place of study. Don't do things by the seat of your arse. I did that my whole life, but now, when I've done something through study, through education, through ways of learning, I have achieved where I need to be for now. So thank you for bearing with us all. We'll see you next time.